Hey there. So today I'll be taking stock of my eyeshadow collection. I guess this might end up being like a little bit of a declutter, but this is mostly going to be just going through my eyeshadow collection, seeing what I have, and reflecting on what I like, what I don't like, and also what I think is missing in my collection. Because I have felt recently like I have a lot, but I think I have a lot that I don't love. And there's only a few things that I do love, and I've been trying to figure out what the holes are in my eyeshadow collection. Because at the size of it, I don't feel like I should have any, but I feel like I do. And in addition, there are a couple things that I think I will be decluttering, but I want to give them a good go before I declutter them. So let's bring out all the eyeshadow and start swatching. All right, so here we are. This is my entire eyeshadow collection. Now, I do use some of my highlighters and my blushes as eyeshadow. I'm not going to go through them here, mostly because I don't think I can fit anything else into this frame. And honestly, talking about any more products is just going to be totally overwhelming. But like I was saying before, but even more so looking at this now, like this is a huge eyeshadow collection. I am not one to have like all of the colors of everything because I find that really overwhelming. And for me, this is a lot. This is like an intensive amount of eyeshadow. This isn't just a lot of eyeshadow. This is like too much eyeshadow. And yet, I find myself not being able to put together looks that I want. I find myself feeling like most of these colors are colors that don't look good on me, that don't flatter me, and that I don't enjoy using. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this sort of as a thought experiment, but I figured I would film this for you in case anyone else finds this useful or interesting. But I kind of want to go through all of these eyeshadows and figure out why I have so much, why I feel overwhelmed by them, and why I feel like I don't have the right ones. Like, if this isn't enough, what is it that I need? you know? So let's get into it. And I think I'm actually going to start with not my motherships, not Pat McGrath, because there are a few things that I want to talk about first, and maybe I'll be able to get a little bit more space in here. But the first one that I actually wanted to talk about is this palette from PUR. PUR? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. This is Extreme Visionary, and I think I got this because it was on sale. I know, it's like the worst reason to buy anything. I think I got this for like $15 or something, maybe even less. And I thought, well, all I have other than this is, or well, all I have in terms of eyeshadow when I purchased this was Pat McGrath. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I only had Pat McGrath at that time. I might have had a different quad, but I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I think it was the elf one in Rosewater, and it was just very, it didn't show up on my skin, and when it did, it was very powdery and chalky, and it just didn't work for me. But I was curious about these because people had described them as being very creamy. And I think at the time that I purchased these, I was like, ooh, creamy. That means it's better. It's good. And I didn't quite put together that creamy and my oily skin would not get along well. But in addition, and maybe even worse than that, I don't like these colors. On the website and on all the marketing material, at, I think all of these colors, but definitely these three colors right here were very vivid, very bright, very pink, very ruby red, very purple. And in person, even in the pan, these are quite muddy. Like, I think that they're very warm toned. And I like things that are very starkly cool toned. And these just straight up don't look good on me. Like, at all. Like, the colors, they look warm toned in the pan. They even look more warm toned on my skin. It just looks muddy. It doesn't work. I don't like it. In addition, this formula looks very like creasy and crinkly on my skin. It doesn't look good. And it doesn't really matter how much I try to shear this out or what other techniques I use, or even if any of my brushes, like I'm using Sonia Jean Wingoss brushes. And I'm still getting not the texture that I want. So I think that these are just for someone else's skin, probably someone who doesn't have wildly oily skin. And this is also for someone with a very different skin tone. None of the colors in here really work for me. I think the only one that I've been able to try and enjoy is this one right here, which is kind of like a gray, taupey, shimmery color. Like it's nice. But I think that's the only one that I really enjoy. I thought I would have liked this one more. I think it's called Role Model. This one is actually quite pink on my skin, but not in a flattering way, which is really weird. And it's very dark on my skin as well, which I guess makes sense. Like it is, or I don't know. I don't feel like it's that dark in the pan compared to my skin, but once it gets on my skin, like it gets dark. And I find that I don't have really any crease colors in here that I can use. I kind of try to use this one and this one together, but it becomes this weird messy look on my eyes. And I didn't really like so I didn't like the colors of any of these, and I didn't like the formula at all of any of these. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give this away. And part of the reason that I wanted to do this, and I'm not even gonna bother to swatch any of these either. Like this isn't even available, and I don't think anyone cares about it. But part of the reason that I wanted to do this video is I have a friend who is getting into makeup, and she, like me in the past, has never really used makeup. So I figured I would go through and find sort of the extra things that are laying around that I know I don't like and that I'm not going to use, and just give them to her and have her play with them and see, maybe she'll like them more, or at the very least, it'll be something she can play with. And I do like this packaging. This is actually very pretty. It's probably part of the reason that I bought this. But hopefully she'll enjoy this. This one's definitely going to be going. I have tried hard to like this or to get something out of it, and this was just not a good purchase for me. And moral of this story is don't buy things just because they're on sale. I need someone to say that to me more often. I'm very bad about doing that. So there's that down. What next? You know what? Let's go ahead and talk about Pat McGrath, because that's going to be like most of what is out here. And I mostly wanted to get the PUR one off because this was really hard to keep open. And I knew I was going to get rid of it anyway. So let's go through and try to understand why I don't like this collection, why it doesn't really give me what I want. And I think part of the issue I have is I'm starting to realize that I really like natural looking eyeshadow looks, because I either like to just have a natural eyeshadow look with like maybe a little bit of shimmer, or do a natural eyeshadow base and then put something more bold on top of it. And I feel like I'm constricted from doing that. I feel like I don't have the right colors here to do that. And I think one of the reasons is I don't feel like I have any light colored, I'm calling it crease colors, but I think most people are going to call it transition shade. I don't have any transition shades that I really love. And I think I have three that I can get to work. The best one is definitely this one in Subliminal. I believe this is called Ultimate Taupe. And I do think that this is a good color. And it's not bad. I can totally get away with it. But it's not it's not quite right for me. It does run a little bit orange on me, which I know is wild. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything about this palette other than it being like very cool toned. See, I don't want to make it too thick on there. But you see how that's just a little bit brown on me? It's just a little bit orange. And again, it's not by very much. This is a pretty decent color, but I almost feel like I get, what do people call it? Like latte makeup. Like this, to me, this is like a latte makeup look on me. And it's a look. It's totally a look and it's fine. This is a fine color. But I don't always want latte makeup. Sometimes I just want like very natural looking makeup. Does that make sense? And to me, this is a little bit too brown. It's a little bit too warm toned, and I want something cooler toned. And I was kind of hoping that this one over here from Divine Rose 1 would be better because it's a little bit more rosy. But for some reason, to me, it's not. It actually doesn't seem to run more cool. I actually think that they're both the same warmth. One just has more like red in it, and the other one is more of like orange, if that makes sense. I guess this does get me closer to gray than this, or no, actually no, I take that back. I think they both have the same amount of gray in them too. They're actually kind of the same color, it's just this one is more red and this one is more orange. Which, and by the way, like, I know I'm being kind of nitpicky here. And I know both of these don't look terrible on my skin tone. And like this part of my hand is actually a pretty good match for my skin tone. So we're working with the right skin tone here, but they don't give me the look that I want. This look runs to pink, kind of, if I'm going for something really natural. And then this one looks kind of like latte makeup. Like it looks like I'm going for a brown eyeshadow look. And like, sure, I could go really light on both of these, like I'm not pigment wise, but like the amount of color that I use, the amount of powder that I pick up on my brush, I could just go with like a tiny bit of these and like really, really, really blend it out. But the undertones I think are still kind of wrong. You know, I want something more cool toned. Because both of these, to me, on my skin, are warmer than my skin. And if I'm going for like a natural makeup look, I am effectively looking for like a contour shade for my eyes. You know, like I'm trying to create shadows on my eyes. And these are shadowy, but they're warmer toned than my skin, so it looks like I have eyeshadow on, as opposed to looking like I have, I don't know, more dramatic shadows around my eyes. So these are looks, and I do enjoy both of these shadows, but I feel like they're only good for specific looks. Now, I do have one other eyeshadow that I think kind of gives me like a natural eyeshadowy look. I guess this one's a little bit lighter, but you see how that's like yellow? Like where's this one's like kind of, I guess more peachy, like peachy orange. This one's more red. This one's more yellow. And you know, that actually went on really light. I'm kind of giving you like more than what I would put on my eye so that you can see the undertones. Do you see the difference there? Do you see how like none of these look like shadows on my skin? They all look like warm toned or even neutral toned if you want to go there, like warm toned or neutral toned eyeshadows. And that's not always what I'm going for. I can definitely use these to make looks, but not that great. Now, I did try to work with some of the browns to see if I can really, really just blend this out. But you see how that still has a pretty orange undertone to it. And so I don't have anything that gives me that really like natural shadow, crease color, or transition shade that I want. And so I think that's what's missing in my collection and why I feel like even though I have like all of this to choose from, that I also just feel like I don't have anything. Like when you open up your closet and you're like, what do I wear today? And you look at it and you're like, I have nothing to wear. I feel like that a little bit with my eyeshadow collection most of the time because I'm kind of stuck using warmer tones than I really want. And if you just look at like this collection in the pan, like most of these eyeshadows don't look warm toned at all. Like this looks very like, I guess this one runs a little bit warm. Everything else is like neutral to like very cool, you know? But I'm missing those shades. I'm missing that transition shade. And I feel like that's such a building block that without that, it's really hard for me to create full looks that I want. Because I think what I really want, what I'm really missing is a really light transition shade and then like a darker crease color, like something that you put on top of that transition shade, but more targeted in the crease. I don't know what you call that. And I think for that, I might have a few that I could use. Like I do like this one brown from Moonlit Seduction, because it does have a lot more gray in it, but still brown. It's like a mushroom brown when I really shear it out like this. And I think of all of them, it runs the most like taupey gray. And I have actually tried to use this brown, can't remember if there was another one. I think that's it. I think I also tried to use this one, but it ends up being too chocolate. This ends up being too plum. And then this is just a very chocolate brown. This is very warm toned. So I'm kind of stuck with these colors as my transition shades. And they don't look bad. Like, don't get me wrong, they don't look bad. But they're only good for specific looks. And what really gets me is, like, as you can tell, I love sparkly shades. I love cool tone sparkly shades. And when you have cool tone skin, and then your transition shade is warm on you, and then you put on top of it a really cool toned sparkle or shimmer or whatever, it looks really weird because you have your skin, you have the transition shade, and then your really cool toned special shade on top of that. So you have your warm toned transition shades sandwiched in between two really cool toned colors. So it brings a lot of attention to the transition shade, which looks weird because that's not what I'm going for. I just want a base to put my fancy colors on top of. I just want a transition shade that transitions into like a really beautiful sparkly lavender color or pink or whatever purpley sparkly thing this is. And it looks weird if I use these. Now these are really nice if I want to use a more like neutral toned color, like if I want to use this bronze or if I even want to use this like gunmetal. Like that's pretty cool toned, but there's enough grunginess in there that it looks fine. And there's like plenty of other colors in here too that are like that, but I like my cool tone sparkly shades. Most of the time, I'm either wearing this shade or I'm wearing this shade, wearing one of these two. What else? Oh, either one of these from Divine Rose 1. Like, I like the cool tone sparkly shades. Those are my favorite, and they look really good on me. But a lot of the times, it's better for me to just jump right to the sparkly shade and not put any matte underneath it because the mattes clash with my skin tone and with what I'm putting on top of it. And I don't necessarily mind just wearing a satin on top of my lids or wearing a sparkly shade on top of my lids, but it does limit what I can do on my eyes. It does limit the looks I can have. And I feel like it looks less refined sometimes, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, and I do that all the time. But I would like to have the option to have a really beautiful, elegant transition shade, a matte transition shade, into one of my various sparkly things, because I think that looks really elegant. I think having a beautiful matte transition shade into whatever, or even into nothing, even just using that transition shade, it looks so much nicer than just slapping on something sparkly. There is something very flattering about using a matte shade for that purpose, and I can't quite explain what it is, but it's very flattering, and it's not nearly as flattering if I just go in with one of my sparkly shades. And I think that's really sad to have all of these and to not be able to pull off what I'm trying to pull off. You know, and I think at one point I was just going through all of the mattes in here and like trying to figure out like, okay, all of these are kind of like brown colors on me. And I think I actually went into this black because you know if you if you shear out black, it's gray, right? And while that's true, one, this black doesn't want to shear out as much as I want it to shear out because I'm really trying to get it to like almost nothing. So it looks like a little bit patchy at the point that I'm trying to shear it out to. But do you see how that still looks muddy on me? Like it is a gray, but that's a neutral gray. And on me, it looks warm. And because of that, it looks a little bit muddy. It doesn't have a nice, it doesn't look like a shadow on me, is what I should say. That doesn't look like a shadow. That looks like makeup. Looks like another eyeshadow, which is fine, except I want something that looks natural on me. And also, like, if you get really close, I don't know if my camera's going to cooperate. There's too many details underneath. I don't know if you're going to be able to pick up how patchy the black shade looks when it's sheared out to that extent. But to me, it looks a little bit patchy. Not a lot. Not something that someone's going to pick up like looking at me, but I'm going to know it's there and it's going to bother me. So I did try that, and it works better than the other shades in being less brown, but it still doesn't look like what I want. And so I'm wondering, like, okay, if none of these work, then what would work? Like, what's the color that I need to not to look pink, to not look peach, to not look yellow or brown or whatever? Like, how do I get to a, you know, effectively a contour color for my eyelids? I'm just looking to put shadows, just natural shadows in my crease. And I've been thinking about this for a while, and I keep on thinking about picking up the Natasha Denona, what is it called? The Xenon palette. Because that palette is just, it's just grays. It's just blue toned grays. And I'm wondering if that's what I need. Because all of these things are pretty neutral toned. Like I'm calling them warm toned, but like if we're actually going to like put them somewhere on the color spectrum, these are probably all pretty neutral. I don't think any of these, or well, I think there might be a couple of them that are actually warm toned, but I think to most people these are going to be neutral. And I know one of the main complaints about the Natasha Denona Xenon palette is that, one, it's gray. Everything is gray. Two, everything has a very blue undertone. And I'm wondering if that would be good for me to try. Maybe that's what I need for a transition shade, for a crease color. Maybe I need something that is just gray, that isn't pink, that isn't peach, that isn't orange, and that isn't neutral toned. Maybe I need something gray with a lot of blue in it. So I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm going to pick that up yet, but I might because I'm just not happy with my options here. I just don't like them. Because like, let's say I really want to wear not even a sparkly color. What if I want to wear this pink color? I mean, I could go in with this pink color as a transition shade. That actually looks pretty nice. It's a very, very pink look. But let's say that I want something that's like more subtle, and then I want this as like a bold color in like a very small part of my eye. Like maybe right along the lash line or something. And I want the rest of my eye look to look very natural. I actually can't do that with what I have right now. All I could do is use one of these, and I would probably go with this one. I might try the black. to go with this pink. If I go with this one, it's still going to be a pink look. It's just this is going to add like a rosy mauve to the look. And this one's just going to be kind of a patchy gray. I guess they would go best with this color, but neither one of them would look natural. So I think that's where I feel stuck, is these are all I have for a natural look for myself, and none of them look natural on me. Now that being said, I have been having fun using these as they are and putting things on top. And I think my favorite thing to do, well actually recently, has been using Beauty Bento and Chocolate Dahlia. And I think I got this in the Allure beauty box, I think. It was very cheap. It was very, very cheap for all the products that I got. And I remember getting this, and I remember being disappointed because I swatched it, and it swatched out really warm toned. And I think that I never actually put it on my lids after that. And to be fair, it's a little bit warm toned for me. But man, when I put this on my skin and like shear it out, it's actually pretty nice. It's still warmish on me, but I think it looks really nice. I just have to be really careful to shear this out, and it gets almost like I think it was this one, right? I can't remember. But it gets almost like a taupey tone, especially when I put it in over this. And then this on top is like a really nice, like on me it's more of like a champagne color, even though in this, like in the pan, it looks kind of pink. On me, it looks champagne-y. And it gives me a fairly natural eye look. It runs a little bit warm on me, but it's still pretty and it's very cohesive. And I like that. I like it when I have things that are like cohesive within themselves. And I think that's one of the reasons that I like Pat McGrath's Motherships so much, is because she does a really good job of matching everything together, in my opinion. I know not everyone thinks that. I was really happy that I tried this out again, because this is one of the things that I picked up to give to my friend. I was like, oh, I never used that Kaja thing. I should just give it away. And then I decided, oh, what the hell? I'll just try it on one last time before I give it away, just to make sure that there's nothing about it that I want to keep it for. And then I ended up really liking it, and I've been using this like all week. So I guess it's been kind of nice figuring out that I like this before giving it away. So I've been really happy about this. I was planning on decluttering it, and now I'm definitely going to be keeping it, which is nice because this makes a really nice travel eyeshadow set. It's just 3 colors. They all stick together in this nice little tower. So I will be keeping this, and I actually really enjoy this. And I think in a way that using this also helped me realize that I could use the colors that I have here. They're just going to create more of like a neutral to warm look on me than a, true neutral look on me. Like they're not going to look super natural, but they'll look natural enough, And I appreciate that about this, because I think using that as sort of a framework, I've been able to go in and sort of pair some darker colors with this ultimate taupe and with this more rosy color, and really getting some pretty looks out of my eyeshadows. But I still want something that is cooler toned and doesn't run pink or orange. So I think I'm looking for gray. And specifically, I think I'm looking for a cool toned gray. So I think that's one of the holes in my collection that I've been trying to pinpoint. And I think that will help me use more of these like cool toned colors. Because for a while I thought like, oh, okay, I just don't have enough cool toned bright colors. Because I found myself using these pinks all of the time. I really love these pinks. And so I ended up picking this up. I picked up this quad as well for these 2 colors. And I really enjoy them. I think they're really pretty, but it's hard to wear them because I don't have any mattes to put under them. Now, again, I am totally happy with just going and slapping these on my lids. They still look beautiful. but not as elegant as of a look as I think I could pull off. I think I'm pretty happy at this point with my cool toned mattes, or my colorful cool toned mattes, my cool toned satins, whatever you want to call this. This is lovely. This is really hard to work with. This is Pat McGrath's UltraViolet Blue Pressed Pigment. This is a very strange texture. It's very, not even flaky, it's just pigmenty. I don't know. It's creamy, but then it's crumbly. It gets everywhere. But man, it's one of the nicest colors that I have. Like, let's see if I can get a good swatchy for you. Or maybe this is a good way of doing it. It's this beautiful royal blue color where it's almost somewhere in between blue and purple. And it has this beautiful sheen on it too. Just very luxe, very beautiful. But do you also see how this color doesn't really match up with any of these? It looks very at odds with all of these colors, even though it looks nice on my skin. It means very bold on my skin. But it's cool toned, and my skin is cool toned. And all of these colors are not cool toned enough to be in between my skin and this color. And that's the issue that I run into. But I mean, most of these colors do blend out really nicely on their own, so I can totally just go and put that on my eye. Like, that's fine. I would just like to have the option to, like, have other options. Now, as far as formula goes, I'm pretty happy with all of my Pat McGrath formulas. There definitely are a lot of different things going on in here, but I tend to like all of them. I like her mattes, I like her satins, I like all of her sparkly shades. I know people have like a specific like meaning behind the term like special shades, but you know, any of these more like baked flaky things, I love those. I love these like, I don't know what you call these, the more creamy, sparkly shade things. I like those. I like whatever this is. I like all of these formulas. I'm quite happy with what I have here. And I think I mean, this one's difficult to work with, but that's kind of a one-off. I think the only Pat McGrath formula that I haven't been very pleased with was I did swatch her newest eyeshadow palette in store. And I can't remember what the name of it is. It's the one that everyone's calling like a super pink palette, and I think it's a neutral palette. It's a warm neutral palette. Maybe it was called Sunlit Seduction. But there was one color in, I think, this area. I think it was like the far top right. There was like this ruby red color. And it reminded me of this formula a little bit, where it's kind of flaky, but very brilliant color. It was a lot more red, or a lot like brighter red pink than this one. And that one swatched horribly. It's like the flakies didn't want to stay together, and they would just kind of smear apart and would create this very strange texture. It was actually a little bit like this one, but you see, like, when you pick this one up, it's like all the flakes come together, and they give you this beautiful metallic finish, and they all like blend together like that. Like, if I can get you to see, like, in the pan, this one's really flaky, really flaky. Flakes go everywhere. But once you pick it up, it's fine. Not so much for the one in Sunlit Seduction. That one is kind of a mess. Gosh, I love this color. Look at that. You know what? I need to pair these two together. Those will go beautifully together. But yeah, anyway, I really like my Pat McGrath formulas. This one's a little bit weird, but it's one-off. The Kaja, I am surprised how much I like the formula. It's very, like, not super pigmented, but I think that actually helps me in terms of, like, getting crease colors that I can use. Now, I haven't opened this one from e.l.f. at all, and I don't intend to. I had one earlier that I believe was the Rosewater color palette, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was very, very powdery. not powdery, but like very like pressed, very hard powder. And I could like never get enough up. And then they hard panned on me like instantly, and I just gave up on them. I think I gave it to my little sister, and I don't remember if she liked them or not. Hopefully she did. So I'm not going to open this up. I'm probably going to give this to my friend if she wants it. Also, none of these are colors that I want. Like I've been saying how I don't want more warm toned mattes and I need cool toned ones. This is not going to help me with that. So this I will also be decluttering. And then we have, so this is from Give Me Glow. I purchased this during their most recent sale where they were basically getting rid of all of their larger pan sizes. I believe these are all 37 millimeter or something like that. And I think that they're switching to 26 millimeter pans. And I decided, might as well pick some up, see if I find anything that I like. And I was kind of surprised. These are a very different formula than what I'm used to. I don't generally get more like powder. I mean, as you can see, most of this is McGrath. I don't find her formulas very powdery, or at the very least, her matte formulas I don't find powdery. These I find powdery. These are the kinds of shadows where if I dip in with a brush, I need to like tap off the brush before I put it on my eye. Otherwise, it's going to pick up too much and there's just a lot of kick up and it's kind of messy. In addition, this isn't necessarily like the eyeshadow's fault, but I didn't like these three colors. They ended up looking more muddy on me than I thought they would. They're just not bright enough. There's also something about these three formulas in particular. They're kind of they're more creamy than the others, but it's not a good thing. So I don't know if it's because I just don't like the colors or if I also just don't like the formula, but these three I was not happy with. These two were a little bit patchy, which I don't know if it's just my application technique, and it totally could be because these are very different colors than I'm used to having with mattes. So I think I still need to figure out how to use these, but I was a little bit disappointed with them. I really enjoyed these two colors. I really wish that I had some transition shades to go with them because I do feel like just using these mattes on my eyes is like very like they do blend out. I can totally blend out and they can be their own transition, but it looks very stark, you know. I would rather use these in very targeted areas of my eye as opposed to like using them as a wash over my lid or over my eye. Now I do try to use this color as a transition shade and it works really well like that. But it does make for a very like pink eye. And that's not always how I want to use my pink colors. However, I really like going in and just using this just as an overall wash of beautiful pink color. This also makes for a really beautiful blush, and I kind of wish I had picked up more than one of these because I have a feeling I'm going to go through it fairly quickly. So yeah, if you know of any blushes that are like this exact color, let me know because I'm really falling in love with this one. I think it's really nice. But I'm gonna be really honest. If I could go back, I would probably just get this color. These two colors are nice, but I still prefer the ones I have from Pat McGrath. So these are kind of redundant, and I don't find myself reaching for them very often. Now, this color in the center is interesting, and I don't think it's bad, but I don't think that it's going to be great for me because it's a really beautiful color, and it's very, very pigmented, which is what I thought I wanted. But I think I like pigmented shades that I can kind of blend out. And this one's very, very all or nothing. This is really something that I would need to put on top of a transition shade. This is not something that you can blend out on its own. I mean, you kind of can, but I don't think it looks that great. It's kind of like trying to blend out like a shimmery shade. You see how it just doesn't, like, even if you blend it out, it just kind of, there's just always a line between like where it is and where it isn't. But this is a beautiful color. I mean, look at that. And a little bit goes a very, very long way. And I'm still learning that with that particular shade. It's very beautiful, but this is also something that I would like to use in like a very targeted area on my eye and not all over the place. And that's mostly because I have very like hooded eyes and I don't have much lid space. So if I put this all over my lid, it will actually make my eyes look even smaller than they already are, which I don't want. I don't want that. Beautiful color though. Beautiful color. So I think if I were to like redo this purchase again, I would just get this. I do think this is lovely and I would probably end up picking it up as well, especially for the price I got it. But I don't think that all of these other ones were really necessary. Now, if I can get this color to work, this blue, man, I want to be able to pair it with this. Like, look at that. Or really any of the other blues that I have here. I have a few blues, especially like this Blitz blue. Beautiful. So we'll see. I might grow to like these a little bit more. I'm definitely not going to be decluttering any of them. I haven't had these for very long. So I'm still getting used to them. Love this color though. Very, very beautiful. All right. So I thought I was going to go through and like swatch everything. And now I'm realizing that would be like really, really overwhelming. So I'm not going to do that. I'm sure this has already been like a really long video. So this has been like a thought experiment and revisiting, trying to figure out like maybe what do I need that I don't already have and what do I currently like about my collection. And honestly, I really like this collection. I think I have a lot of really beautiful, vibrant colors. I have a lot of shimmers and these beautiful special colors from Pat McGrath. They're just so gorgeous and they look so flawless on the skin. But I do think that I do somehow need to get some nice transition shades. So, and I immediately think of the Natasha Denona Xenon palette because it's new and I've seen people talk about that. I don't know if that's going to be the right choice, so I might be doing some research to figure out what other options there are. So if you have any suggestions for gray transition shades, something that would not run neutral or warm, something that would actually be quite cool toned, let me know. Especially if I could just get like one or two shades, because I don't need more palettes. I have a lot. I have a lot as is. But if you have any recommendations, please let me know below. I feel like I learn a lot from you guys. And if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you sticking around, and I really hope that this has been a fun video for you. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.